Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading advocate for Hispanic business in our region. In Houston, we represent over $54 billion per year in consumer spending. Our thanks to our volunteers, sponsors, board of directors, and staff as we work to advocate for business and for a stronger economy. Learn more by visiting the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce website, HoustonHispanicChamber.com. Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo. I'm President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It is with great honor that I welcome our next Houston legend. I have known him since I was about 15 years old, and he absolutely made such a huge impact, not only on my life, but on so many others. He was one of the first Houstonians, the first Hispanic Houstonians that I saw in person, on television, advocating for Hispanics. He was at the table. He had a very strong presence. He was highly regarded and respected. He went on to become Assistant Chief of the Houston Police Department and the United States Marshal, Southern District of Texas, something no one had done during his time. He has contributed in so many ways to our great city, and this is why the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is naming him one of our Houston legends. Welcome.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you here. I have been one of your biggest fans. It is so important that we see people that look like us. It was so important in the days that you were doing it, a very sometimes tumultuous time in our city.
Yes, it was.
And especially with the police department. You had an extraordinary career, come from Baytown to the big city, and you did some things that no one before you had done. So before we get into that part, I want to know a little bit more about your arrival here in Houston and what you thought you were going to do in this big city when you came here.
Well, first of all, why did I become a police officer? My dad was very specific. He said to change the system, you have to work within it.
Okay.
And he says, hopefully you'll get in a position, because when I told him I want to be a police officer, he says, hopefully you'll get to the position where you can make positive change. He says, but when you have the opportunity, don't you just do it. And that's my whole, he was a tremendous mentor for me.
What did your dad do? What did he do?
He worked for back then, Humble Oil, then it was Exxon.
Okay.
But he retired from Exxon.
So was anyone else in the police department?
Not really. He did volunteer work with the police department.
Okay.
So, but he was very much of a community leader.
Okay.
He was very involved in the political process.
Yes.
He was one of the first Hispanic, the precinct judges. Back when you had to pay a poll tax, he would encourage people. In fact, he would pay poll tax sometimes for people, just for them to get involved.
So what did your mother think when you told her you wanted to become a police officer?
She was really kind of hesitant, worried about me, because the relationship between with the Hispanic community and the police department was not good, to say the least.
Yeah.
So she was definitely worried about me.
Yes.
So,
And so you came to Houston, you became a police officer with the intention of moving up the ranks?
moving up the rank.
Yes. So what do you think was key to you moving up?
I think that to me, Houston was it was a tremendous opportunity for me to come in, because I saw the promotional process that they had. I knew that was my forte. I could beat it.
Okay.
I could beat the system and work myself up,
Yes.
which I did eventually. So I reached into the rank of assistant chief, and but really I had a tremendous ride. I've been truly blessed. Had a great working relationship with the community. with not only the Hispanic community, but as assistant chief, I was pretty much charged with interfacing with all of the various cultures that make up this great city. And that to me, they did me a favor because I met so many key leaders in the various communities in the city. And I changed some of the way that we train police officers. I brought community leaders from these various communities to really educate our police officers
Yes.
as to the different variants. And really the more you work with the community, the more you realize we have a lot more in common than we do differences.
Yes.
So it was great to have the police officers get to know other people different than themselves.
And you did that so well at a time, once again, I want to emphasize, there were maybe just a handful of you, Dr. Dorothy Caram at that time, Dr. Lupita Quintanilla, our friend Johnny Mata.
Yeah.
You guys were at the forefront
Frank
of,
Lupita was very critical, very
Yes.
essential to implementing our bilingual program.
yes,
In fact, passed legislation to allow the police department to pay police officers bilingual pay, shift differential pay.
yes.
Of course, that cost me a promotion, but it was worth it.
It was worth it, and let me tell you, because you may not know this, how so many things are connected that you've done that you're not aware of. So doing that, Dr. Lupita Quintanilla at Baker Ripley House at the
Right.
time, she had a program for non-Spanish speaking police officers. They could go to Ripley House
Right.
and they would have tutors working with the police officers to help them with some basic Spanish. She recruited me, and one of the police officers said, "We have a scholarship, you should apply for it." And I did, and that was one of my first scholarships to go to the University of Houston. Came from the Houston Police Officers Association.
As a result of that program, let me give you just briefly that we had a police officer that was involved in that program, and he got a call about burglary in the building.
Yes.
So it turned out to be it was a bakery. He shows up, and the individual who was there mixing flour and stuff, and he asked him in Spanish, what dice, ¿qué estás haciendo aquí? He said, tenemos una boda. And then he really, had he not been able to speak Spanish, heaven forbid, he might have confused him for a burglar and ended up with a real tragedy. So,
Oh no.
but that was a program that was needed,
Yes.
and really,
Yeah.
now we have several. I mean, five languages that I'm aware of that get paid bilingual pay, because Houston is a very diverse city.
Absolutely. And so now, in this phase of your life, as you look back, what are some of the things that you're proudest of? Because you've been involved in so many things.
Some of the training that we implemented in the police department, because I was over HR, that in truth was part of the police department, was essentially the police academy. But some of the training that we engaged in, we had when I was a captain in the Northeast, the first storefront was on Lads Avenue to get police officers closer to the community. I work with all the key leaders in that community, and that's like I said, I met a lot of tremendous leaders there.
Yes.
And here again, the more you get to know people, the more you realize we have a lot more in common than differences.
Yes.
So they even had the ladies would every Thanksgiving and Christmas they would have a big fiesta for the police officers there at the
Yes.
community center.
Yes.
So I hope I made a difference by being here, and I look back and reflect some of the changes that were made in recruiting, because there was the Hispanic. You look at the command staff now;
Yes.
it's extremely diverse.
Yes.
I mean, which is to me, when I see that,
Yes.
he says that needed to happen.
And you were part of that
Yes.
in being the first and opening these doors. And so many people that I've talked to remember you as that individual that wasn't there for himself. You were there for our community, and you understood that it was important to interface with other communities,
Yes.
not just Hispanics.
No, it was definitely because really we look at you have to police the city as a whole. You
Yes.
can't segment individual communities and treat them differently, and when you look at the Hispanic and the African American community, relatively speaking, they're the youngest group of people in the city.
Yeah.
So you have to prepare police officers to understand
Yes.
how to deal with people that are different than themselves.
Yeah.
So
And then you move on, you get a big promotion.
I was appointed,
You're appointed.
President Clinton appointed me to be the U.S. Marshal for the Southern District of Texas. I met a lot of people in the Valley.
Yes.
Got a tremendous opportunity to meet all the attorney generals from the northern districts of Texas. But there's a way to do business. There's the real, you buy the book and everything, and it takes forever. But when you deal with other people and they get to know you, and you can pick up the phone.
Yes.
And if I have a fugitive in Mexico, I can call the attorney general directly and tell them, hey, we have information, so and so is it, and they would deliver the individual to the bridge. So, like I said, there's different ways of working with people, but the more you know about the other cultures, the better off you're going to be, especially in law enforcement.
So as you reflect now, as someone who opened doors, was the first, often the only Latino in the conversation at the table, and you look around Houston especially, do you see that we've made some strides as leaders?
We have, but we still have a little way to go because there's some residual discrimination out there that I would say that overall, especially our younger people, they've gone to school with Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, so they pretty well get along with each other. It's some of the older generations still harbor some problems dealing with people that are different than themselves, but I can tell you, especially with the immigrant community, they hear all these people lambast. They don't understand that the more of like I said, relatively speaking, it's a younger community, and the more of the Hispanics that are in the workforce, the better prepared Social Security is going to survive.
Yes.
So, and you look at that, and you have to look at issues in very pragmatic terms. That's what I did. You can see by the letter of the law, but at the same time, police work is operates in a gray area. You have tremendous discretion as to how you apply that.
Mm-hmm. So as we wrap up, we look back at your life and your legacy, your grandchildren, your family. What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, hopefully they can see when I've run my course, because like I said, I've had a tremendous ride. But whenever they can look back and they say, well, he made a difference.
And you have. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on Houston Legends. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading advocate for Hispanic business in our region. In Houston, we represent over $54 billion per year in consumer spending. Our thanks to our volunteers, sponsors, board of directors, and staff as we work to advocate for business and for a stronger economy. Learn more by visiting the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce website, HoustonHispanicChamber.com. Dr. Laura Murillo, Presidency of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We just really enjoy being here and meeting our Houston legends. Today we have none other than my dear friend, Mary Bass. She is a superstar. You're going to get to know about her and what she does here as an executive recruiter, a headhunter. That's right. She's out there trying to identify great talent and has done so for over 20 years and has been very engaged in the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She's served on our panels at our women's conference and other activities, and so we're happy to have her here and see if she can convey and transmit some of her great energy through the airwaves. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here. I always enjoy seeing you, Mary. And from the time I met you, it's just, I feel as if we connected because it's just all this great energy. And so on behalf of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, congratulations. We really do believe that you are indeed a Houston legend, a woman who has had many accomplishments, so well known in this city, and has so many relationships here in the city of Houston and throughout the country in healthcare, energy, and other sectors. We just wanted to acknowledge you and also have you share your story of how you became this accomplished career woman and how you've utilized the many gifts that you have to really attract some of the best people for some extraordinary positions. So welcome, Mary. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here and very flattered.
So first of all, tell us a little bit about Mary, where you're from, and then what got you to your current role here in Houston.
Okay, well, I'm from Vicksburg, Mississippi. I'm one of 7 children, and that sort of explains things about me. I'm in the middle. Well, 3 from the top, 4 from the bottom. And what got me here was my fiance, who is now my husband of 36 years, was transferred to Houston in 1983.
And Houston is a dynamic city, very large. But one of the things that I think you do best, and I think you can help people understand, some folks have a really hard time doing it, and as a matter of fact, don't even think it's really necessary, and that's the word networking. And you have mastered it. Help people understand why it's important and give them some tips on how to do it properly.
Okay. Well, I do think networking is critical to many things, and I think it's a sport. You have to have stamina. And I think you shouldn't do it in a contrived fashion. It should just come naturally to you, and you can practice until it does. But it enables other people to get to know you. So even if you're a shy person, you can network. I'm not a shy person, nor are you. But I think networking helps you create opportunities for yourself, lets you get to know other people, let them get to know you, and then things happen from that. Things evolve from networking.
Well, it's also the follow-up. And sometimes it's as easy as saying, I'll just meet 2 people tonight, and I'll focus on them. And one of the things I found, especially people who are shy, they'll say, well, I'm just not good at conversation, and I don't know what to say. I said, well, the great thing is that you can just ask questions.
Right.
And let them do all the talking.
Right.
So very important. And that's especially important in the role you play. Tell us about your job and what you do and how you've made a career out of something that has just been life-changing for all the people you've been able to meet and place in these very prestigious roles.
Well, I think it's important to be authentic, and I think that I've achieved that, and I treat people with dignity and respect, whether they're the candidate or the client or the server or the chairman, and I think people feel that, and I think they trust me, and when I give them career advice, I think they trust me. I've been consistent for the 36 years that I've been here. I've been in this business for 23 years, and before that I was in private equity. It's all about people. I love people. I like to help people. I have a soft spot for women in particular right now because I think women need to improve their self-esteem and they need to raise their hand, and I think if I can help in that endeavor, I try hard to do that.
And it is interesting that you mentioned that because we are in a time when many women feel as if they are in many ways being marginalized at very different levels. At the same time, we see this new flood of women who are confident, who are getting out there, but still need those years of experience to arrive, to be at the corporate level, to have a position on boards. We know that the statistics regarding Hispanics, minorities, women on corporate boards in Houston is very disappointing. We're less than, I think it's 5%.
Right.
So what are you seeing? What are you hearing as it relates to women serving on corporate boards?
Well, our firm has placed over 2,000 women on corporate boards. In Houston, we placed a number of women on corporate boards, and the numbers are improving. Women need to realize they need to be qualified to serve on corporate boards. And so part of what I try to do is help them figure out what they need to do, how to package themselves, the skill sets they should acquire so that they are qualified to serve on public boards. And then to only serve on boards for which they have passion for the mission, chemistry with the people, and feel really good about what that company is doing. You do not do it to check a box.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel that, in fact, women are focusing more of their attention trying to get those qualifications? And in fact, there are women already out there who are qualified who just don't have that as a thought of something that they might consider.
And I try to make myself available to give them advice or insight into that process. And the really good thing is that women are raising their hand earlier in their careers, because there is a period of time that you can serve on boards because there's a timetable. So the earlier they realize that and start preparing themselves for board service, the better.
Great. Well, we're going to continue that conversation and a lot of other really great conversational points when we return in a moment. Thank you. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading advocate for Hispanic business in our region. In Houston, we represent over $54 billion per year in consumer spending. Our thanks to our volunteers, sponsors, board of directors, and staff as we work to advocate for business and for a stronger economy. Learn more by visiting the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce website, HoustonHispanicChamber.com. We are back with Mary Bass. She's been talking to us a little bit about some of the great work she's doing here in the Houston area. As we know, there are many opportunities for executives in the city, and she's out there working with them and has been doing so for a very long time. We consider her a great friend to the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She's a partner over at Spencer Stewart. She's going to talk to us a little bit more about some of the trends you're seeing in your field, things that folks should be aware of as you have seen them, and just some advice that you may have for folks who are out there as executives.
Well, it's all about packaging yourself correctly for what you aspire to do. So, for instance, if you aspire to be on a board, look the part, act accordingly. And one thing that I think many people take for granted is that networking and preparing yourself for your next opportunity is almost a 24/7 endeavor. The scrutiny of today is more thorough than it's ever been, so you need to be careful about social media. You need to be careful about your behavior at sporting events. You just need to be, it needs to be consistent, and you need to be careful.
Yes. And also, I would add your authentic self. I think you mentioned that earlier, right? Be true to who you are.
Exactly.
And look for opportunities that suit things that you already believe in, right? And exactly. So that there's some type of, in some ways it's organic, but at the same time you're working toward it. Would you agree that that's type of?
I would agree. And one of the things I wish that I had known when I was 20 is the concept of being self-aware. Know your own strengths and weaknesses and work on your weaknesses. Yes. And improve yourself. It's an ongoing effort, but it's good to know how people respond to you by being self-aware about how you come across.
Yes, very important and great advice. Let's go back to your career. This is one that is very important, and I know that you'd rather talk about everything else except yourself, but I think it's important, Mary, because you have this confidence, this great energy, and I think there are a lot of people out there who wake up already tired, and they wake up already feeling defeated. But you have this can-do attitude, and I want to make sure that our viewers get a sense of that and what has driven you to be the person you are today.
Well, I had two grandmothers in Mississippi who both had college degrees, and they told me I could do anything I wanted to do, and they wouldn't lie. But for me, I am a fitness junkie. I work out every day, always have my whole life. It gives me energy. This morning I was at yoga at 6 a.m. And you walk out of that class and you just think, bring it on, I can handle it.
Yes.
And It's hard to get out of that warm bed. It's really hard. But when you do, you feel better about who you are, and you can look in the mirror and think, I did it. I said I was going to do it, and I did it. I followed through, and I honored my commitment to myself, and that makes a big difference. And I won 3rd place in the marathon one year. I don't run anymore. I look like I do, and everybody thinks I do, so I let them. But that gives me a lot of confidence, too, because I know I can get you across the finish line. I have stamina. And I think fitness is mental fitness, and it's also physical fitness. And you can't accomplish what you want to do in your career if you don't feel good about your fitness level that you can stay in the game.
Yeah, and that's been something you've done for many years.
My whole life.
Your whole life. That's incredible. And it's just getting out of bed
It's hard.
and doing it is
It's
difficult.
hard, but it pays off because of the way you feel after you've done it.
Well, clearly it's paid off. Look at you, just running circles around folks here in the city. And going back to advice that you'd have for people who are, let's say, in their 20s or 30s, what other advice might you have for them as they're going through their career?
Take time to take care of you, which is consistent with my other points.
Yes.
Take time, put yourself on your own calendar and give yourself time during the day where you take care of what you need to take care of. Whether you need to meditate or whatever you need to do, or just go take a walk and take a break. Don't work yourself into oblivion. It's important to have a strong work ethic, but you also need to take care of yourself so that you can take care of the other things that are important to you in your life.
To disconnect sometimes, even if it's
That's
just for a
healthy.
brief moment, it's okay to do that.
Exactly.
So for women in the workplace, they have different challenges, you would agree, than men do. And many of them often, myself included, especially when my daughters were little, this guilt of working and family and how to try to be in both places at once. And I ultimately realized I could not.
Good.
And letting some of that go. But I think women, more than men, suffer from what this feeling is, which is guilt. How do you, or what do you suggest in managing those feelings?
Well, that's why I try to talk to women and find out what's going on and give them permission. We need permission for some reason. It's just part of our DNA, most women, where we feel guilty about doing things that others don't feel guilty doing, and we need to give ourselves permission to do what it takes to take care of us, or we can't take care of the other things in our lives, including the career, and including your family. And your family is going to be happier with you if you're happier with yourself.
Right. I like to call it me time, and I actually
That's
do,
good.
Mary, put it on my calendar, and it
Good.
says me time.
And then honor it.
Yes, and it's important. And then I feel like I'm ready to take on the world after that, but we all need a break. And you've been such a great role model to me and so many others in the city. And I know you don't think it, but people see you and they have a high level of respect, men included, and you've earned it. And as you said, you've been consistent. So on behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank you. We want to congratulate you for being a Houston legend.
Thank you. I'm very honored.
Thank you. And thanks for joining us here. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading advocate for Hispanic business in our region. In Houston, we represent over $54 billion per year in consumer spending. Our thanks to our volunteers, sponsors, board of directors, and staff as we work to advocate for business and for a stronger economy. Learn more by visiting the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce website, HoustonHispanicChamber.com.